Who among you here remembers session number 1? Joseph and his family, right? Number 2, Joseph and his
Choices?
saan number 2?
Choices ba to?
Choices ba?
I think that was part 3 na ito.
That was
Work
part...
pass. Joseph and his work.
Okay, very good. And then Joseph and his choices.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about that, and before I would go and dive into our session this afternoon, there's this movement every year that happens with college students. Most of them are in Atlanta, Georgia. No, it's called the Passion Conference, and what they do is they don't just gather, but they would like usually it's a gathering of speakers, really well-known speakers, and then they worship together, think about Hillsongs and Elevation, this big worship gatherings, no. So what they do every year, they don't just come together to worship God, they come together to make a difference. In fact, one of the things the movement has been trying to end is human slavery. That includes human trafficking and all that. So there was one year that Passion Conference was able to raise $3 million. Now, if you think about that, that's about 20 to 40,000 young people, no, and these are college students, and college students are not well off, but they're able to do that, and they're able to use the resources to make a difference, no. And I believe kita kamo, especially kamo, you're young, you're very idealistic. There's something that you could do to in a way help us see the change in our nation ba. There's you are able to spearhead a transformation, especially in our nation. And I believe if we're just gonna be able to hear out sa Ginoo, I believe na makadungog ta niya, and we could really pursue that passion to transform our nation. And my prayer in this session is that you're gonna be able to use whatever God has given you, what God has placed in your life, your abilities, your gifts to make a difference, no? Especially where you are right now, whether you're working, whether you are a student, or whether you're in a community, you could really help in and yet he really made a lot of difference in terms of his contribution, not just to his own nation, but even to the world, no. uh, let's look into Psalm 41. Okay, I mean Genesis chapter 41, sorry about that. Murag hinay akong bandwidth, so murag na ako'y delay gamay, so let me just check lang. Okay, Genesis chapter 41 verse 1 to 8. So when 2 full years had passed, remember the last session we had, naunsa gani si Joseph, he was thrown into the prison, no, because he was falsely accused of raping Mrs. Potiphar, or sexually molesting her. So what happened when 2 full years? So if you think about it, nga nung give allow pa man sa Ginoo to extend the misery, no? He was actually innocent, but listen to the choice of words. 2 full years had passed. Pharaoh had a dream. Okay, he was standing by the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came out of the Nile and stood beside those on the river bank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. Now, the second dream will have the same interpretation later, but it is presented in a different fashion. This time, he saw 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning, his mind was troubled. So he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Now, Take note of this because Egypt was the most powerful nation during this time. So they had all access to education. They were advanced in their military technology, and they had some really good magicians and wise men. Now, Pharaoh had to really consult with them with the dream. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. So imagine a very advanced nation with all the resources that they have. No wise man or magician was able to interpret his dream. Now, just to summarize what we just read, Pharaoh had two vivid dreams the same night. In the morning, his mind was troubled, and none of Egypt's magicians or wise men could interpret Pharaoh's dreams. Let's move on. Then in Genesis chapter 41, verse 9 to 13, then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh. Now, there's a backstory here, and you're going to be able to look at it later. Sabi niya, today, I am reminded of my shortcomings. Because prior to this, the cupbearer also had a dream together with the baker, no? And both of them were interpreted, those dreams were interpreted by Joseph. Ingon ng cupbearer, siya man ang ni-survive, ingon siya, I would not forget you, but after 2 years pa, no? Remember, 2 years, 2 full years pa, na-reminded siya sa iyahang shortcomings. In fact, he didn't even mention the name of Joseph. He totally forgotten about Joseph. Wala gid niya na hinumduman ang iyahang pangan. Now, Pharaoh was once angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. So that's the backstory. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now, a young Hebrew, so mora na yan yun, a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream, and things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other was hanged, just as the interpretation happened. No? So the chief bearer remembered Joseph and his ability to accurately interpret dreams. So, karon na dyan na kinumdum ang chief cupbearer. And I like this because we could just pause and draw a principle. People forget na nakalimtan ka sa tao. You know how it is. People will promise us a lot of things, no? They would probably do a lot of taong nilang para bang political promises, no? Politician promise na makalimtan nila. Pero we're thankful for that because God is not restricted by their forgetfulness, no? He's still in control and he remembers. So let's move on with the story. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph and was quickly brought from the dungeon. So imagine from the dungeon he was brought into to Pharaoh's presence. When he had shaved, of course he hadn't. So kailangan take note of this. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. He needed some cleanup. He needed some, what do you call this? Haircut and all that. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. So he was highly recommended. But listen to what Joseph said, and this is really his humility here. Look at this. I cannot do it. See that? I cannot do it. Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. I like that because he was really it's not about himself or his ability, but he really would like to glorify and honor God. So Pharaoh summoned Joseph and expressed confidence in his abilities. But Joseph refused to take credit for the ability God has given him. Joseph realized something, that whatever he does, it's really from the grace of God, from God's empowering, no? That he cannot do anything without God's enabling grace. And that's a very good reminder for all of us, because that's a good point there, that Joseph was simply humble, no? He could have just said, yes, Pharaoh, I could do that. but here's my negotiations. Here's my deal. If I do this for you. No, he didn't do that. It says there, then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. Mean to say there are two dreams, two different setting, but there's one interpretation. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. So it was prophetic. So it was prophetic in terms of ang dream ni Pharaoh will look into the future. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are also 7 years. It is one and the same dream. Okay, it means one thing. In other words, the 7 lean, ugly cows that came up after our 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he's about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. So the abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows, it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. So Joseph tells the Pharaoh that both dreams have the same meaning. God is revealing what he is about to do in the future, especially in the next 14 years. First 7 years and the next 7 years. 7 years of abundant harvest will be followed by 7 years of famine. The repetition of the dream means it is definite and soon. So it's coming very, very soon. Now, let's read on. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Now, this is another point where Joseph did not, that expression na magbuhat ka ng sarili mong bangko. So again, the point of his humility, no? He says, here's my counsel to you, my unsolicited advice to you, Pharaoh. Look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Going, by the way, that's me. No, he didn't ever promote himself here. Sabi niya, let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take a fifth of the harvest of Egypt. Now, this is not part of the dream. This is really God's wisdom that's been revealed to Joseph. So, verse 35, they should collect all the food of these good years that are coming, okay, and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food shall be held in reserve for the country and to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. So Joseph recommends God-centered solutions to his nation's problems. Look for someone who is wise and discerning to prepare for Egypt, prepare Egypt for the coming famine. Appoint other leaders under his authority. So set aside 20%. That's a very wise counsel. No? Set aside 20% of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance. Store it and protect it against loss. And that's part of financial stewardship, that a lot of the financial stewardship will tell us that we're only supposed to spend 80% of our income. So in other words, if I'm earning 10,000 pesos, I should learn how to live within the 8,000 range. Why? Because those other 20%, kung saan na paghati ang other 20%, 10% for God, that's your tithes and offering, or your tithes, pera pa din ang offering, and the other 10% is your saving. So, kana na wisdom really comes from here as well, no? So, you should store it and protect it against loss. Now, listen to what happened next. The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man? One in whom the Spirit of God. So Pharaoh recognized that there was something about Joseph, that the Spirit of God was really working in his life. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, There is no one so discerning and wise as you. Now think about that. Because at that time, Egypt was advanced in everything, education and all the technology, military, even sa food, even the way they store their dead, the way they store their food. But no one was as wise because what was the difference? Joseph was really, he had the Spirit of God, the anointing of God in his life. So Pharaoh entrusted this role to Joseph because of his character and abilities. Now we're starting to see the unfolding of why God allowed the detours sa kinabuhi ni Joseph. Now he's already gonna be put into a position of power and authority. And he's gonna get the job because of his character. That's very important. Because all this time, God was building the character. He was building the dreamer before the dream. So he says in verse 40, you shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. In other words, he was second most powerful man in the whole entire kingdom of Egypt, no? The Egyptian kingdom. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. So again, that ring signifies authority. He dressed him in robes. Again, very familiar story. This is the third time a robe was presented to him. The first time it was presented by his dad. The second time it was snatched away from him. But this time it's a different kind of a robe. It's a robe that would signify power and authority. A robe of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and men shouted before him, make way. Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift hand or foot in all Egypt. Wow. So Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zaphanet-Paneah. Of course, he knew that Joseph was Hebrew. In other words, he was an Israelite. So in order that he would have credibility in terms of being part of the nation, first, Pharaoh changed his name. Second, he gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joseph went throughout the land in, no, iyang respetuhon ang throne ni Pharaoh, ang authority ni Pharaoh. So Pharaoh gave Joseph symbols of his authority: a signet ring, fine linen garments, gold necklace, second chariot, and new name. Wow. So think about that. So nakita na nato diri ang pag-unfold sa dream ni Joseph sa una, pero wala pa yun totally, no? Naginahinay na ang setup for the comeback. So he says there in verse 46, Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Now remember, when he was taken out from his home, he was just a teenage boy, about 14 years old, no? You remember 14 ba? Something like that. So this was a 16-year journey for him. Think about that. And then, kamo naghuwat mo sa inyong uyab, pila pa ka years? 16 years na ba mo naghuwat? Wala pa. So, kung 4 years pa mo, napay 12 years. Joke lang, no? We don't want that to happen. Pero, grabe ang journey ba? Dugay kaayo ang journey ni Joseph. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. No? During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully, just as the Lord said. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. In each city, he would put the food grown in the field surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records of it. It was beyond measure. Grabe, no? Ang abundance. At this point, Joseph was only 30 years old, no? The land produced 7 years of great harvest, just as God had promised. Food was stored as the wisdom was unfolded there, locally to provide for the people who had done the work and made the sacrifice. Now, before the 7 before the years of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God, sorry about that, it is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." Wow. So, ang iyang mga anak would become a testimony of the character of God, or the character trait of God that he experienced. So although he was forgotten by probably, a lot of people in his life, rejected by a lot of people in his life, but he said there, "God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." There was a second son. He named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." Grabe ang nakita na testimony ba, to the point na, remember, during those time, names are very important. And even today, no, names are very important as well. Because you would not name your son Judas these days, right? Who among you here would one day name your son Judas? Dili. Because you see the importance of naming your sons. That's why my first son is called Mac Lester. Gift. He's actually a gift for my mom and dad, because of course we thought that he was gonna be the only boy now who would carry our surname to the next generation. Pero praise the Lord, kay duha akong son. The other is Miles Judah. Miles means mercy in other language, and Judah is praise. So mo na mga pangalan sa mga anak, it really has a significant connotation to it. And it's really also reflects God's character in our lives. Si Marthiana, hope. It means unyielding hope, a hope that never surrenders. So that's the kind of, these are the journey that we went through with my wife. And we also would like to name our children that way, no? Because it reminds us of God's faithfulness. And exactly what Joseph did, no, with these two sons. Manasseh means God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. Not just the trouble, but the pain. So grabe, no? Ephraim means God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. So grabe ang mga names ka-powerful. So the 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end. And the 7 years of famine began. Just as Joseph had said, there was famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food, and Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do the fast as Joseph had predicted." To other countries. It's not just Egypt. This was a worldwide crisis. No? But only Egypt was prepared because, of course, nasa sila'y prophetic word from God. When the people cried to Pharaoh, he told them to go to Joseph and follow his orders. Okay? When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians. For the famine was severe throughout Egypt, and all the world came to Egypt. Now listen to this. All the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe everywhere. Because of one man's ability to interpret dream that God used, the whole world is going to be fed through Egypt. No, grabe ang paggamit. So Joseph waited until the famine was nationwide before he opened the storehouses. People from all over the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph. Then Egypt was generous and resisted the temptation to hoard the resources. They could just simply say, "Hey, you didn't store your food. This is just for us." But they in turn became a blessing to all the nations, no? Because they were generous and they didn't hoard the resources. I hope if we find the cure for coronavirus, if there's such thing as COVID, or there's a such thing as a vaccine, I pray that they will not hoard it, but they will generous, no? Whoever is gonna be able to produce that, and the same thing that happened here. As a result, Egypt's wealth increased. So grabe ang blessing. The nation was blessed, and Egypt's position as a global superpower was strengthened. It was already one of the most powerful nation, and now the riches of the world was distributed to them because namalit man sila og grain and all the food that they could find, no, in Egypt. Now listen to this. Only God could elevate a rejected brother, falsely accused slave, and forgotten prisoner to a position of global economic and political influence. Only God. So probably you might feel sometimes na, can God use me? No? Can God use me to transform someone or to help, to be a catalyst where I am right now? Well, you're not a slave. Probably some of you were not rejected by your brother or sister. You were not accused of rape. So probably you have a good chance of being used by God. But it's only God who could do that. Only God can do the promotion. Only God can do the elevation there. So, what social problem has God given you a burden for? No, like when you hear about something, probably you could think about kids who are hungry. Probably you think about the need for leadership development. What kind of a burden? Probably when you see poor people in the streets, no, it's a burden for you. There's a reason why you're feeling that. There's a reason why God placed that in your life. God placed that in your heart as a passion. Um, Leaders are given by God special passion. No, and that passion would really be a center focus of our ministry. I just find out what's the meaning, what's the difference between passion and obsession. Do you know the difference between passion and obsession? Remember when Moses saw the burning bush, right? What did he notice within the burning bush? It was burning, okay, but it was not consumed. Remember that. It was burning, but it was not consumed. That is passion. God has placed passion in our lives that is burning in our hearts, but it's not supposed to consume us. Ang obsession, it's gonna burn in our hearts and it will consume the entirety of our well-being. So pangutanan ako sa inyo ha, what is the social problem or social issue that God has placed in your life right now? Number two, what platform of influence God has entrusted to you? Whether you're a teacher, I heard someone was a teacher here. You're a programmer. You're working for the best airline uh, company in the Philippines. Shout out Philippine Airlines. Whether you're in that platform, programmer, God has entrusted to you. Whether you're a parent, if some of you are parents, no, that's a platform of influence God has entrusted for you. So number three, what one practical action will you take to leverage your influence and bring God-centered solutions to a specific problem in the world today? I believe with all of my heart, the young generation is going to step up big time for the next 10 years. That happened in Passion Conference. Do you know that a lot of the missionaries right now who is making a difference in the world are young people. They are aged younger than 40 years old. 40 pababa. And this is God. You know how they minister to other people? They don't just go to a country just to become a missionary. There are business people who use business to minister and to share God's word to other people. So I don't know, but I'm really sure of that, and I'm starting to see that the next generation, the Generation X and the Generation Z, will gonna be used by God mightily in the coming years, and I hope you're gonna be part of what God is doing in the world today. We are all called to be history makers, so I pray that you will find your platform to be one.